Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is an absolutely beautiful day to dive deep into the heart of Port Charles. We have so much to discuss regarding the current storylines on General Hospital, and I am absolutely buzzing with excitement to break it all down with you. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's jump right into the magic unfolding on our screens. I am still absolutely reeling from that breathtaking scene at Turning Woods with Nina Reeves and Jack Brennan. When Nina stood there holding that syringe full of the paralytic, and then deliberately threw it away instead of injecting him. I actually cheered out loud in my living room. I feel so incredibly relieved by that scene, because to me, it finally proved that the writers are fully committing to this dynamic. The way the lighting shifted in that sterile hospital room, casting a soft, almost conspiratorial glow over Nina's face. As she looked down at him, it was pure cinematic perfection. I think this is the absolute best they have written Nina in years. She isn't just reacting to the Corinthos family drama anymore. She is actively choosing a partner in crime. I believe that when she told Brennan they needed to join forces, she wasn't just making a tactical move against Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we don't see the deep, desperate need for an equal partnership in her eyes. She wants someone who sees her darkness and matches it, and Brennan is exactly that guy. I know a lot of people in the fandom are complaining that this storyline is dragging or that Nina is moving on too quickly, but I actually think the slow burn is exactly what's needed. I feel like we have to earn their trust just as much as they have to earn each other's. Brennan has been lying in that bed trapped in a fake locked-in state, completely at the mercy of the people around him. For Nina to be the one to spare him, it shifts the entire power dynamic. I loved the subtle choice by the director to focus on Brennan's eyes when she tossed the syringe. You could see the exact moment his calculation turned into genuine intrigue. And having Elliot Carr step in as the nurse in these upcoming scenes is such a fun meta touch that adds a layer of surreal tension to the Turning Woods environment. The way I interpret it, Nina is finally taking control of her own narrative. She isn't begging for love, she's negotiating a war pact, and I'm entirely here for it. Now let's talk about the absolute masterclass in psychological manipulation that Michael Corinthos is currently orchestrating. I am watching his descent into pure calculated villainy, and I am absolutely mesmerized. The way I see it, Michael has completely detached from his moral high ground, and it is the most fascinating character evolution on the show right now. When Michael resorts to his trickery to push Willow Kane and Harrison Chase together, he isn't just acting out of jealousy. He is methodically dismantling his own life so he can play the victim. I think the writer's choice to have Michael use Elaine the PI to snap those photos was brilliant. But his new plan to expose Brooklyn Quartermain as the driver in the hit and run, that is next level ruthless. I genuinely believe Michael's acting out of a profound sense of entitlement. He wants to destroy Chase and Brooklyn's marriage, not just to push Chase toward Willow, but because he cannot stand to see anyone else happy while his own marriage is built on secrets and lies. I feel like the upcoming scenes where Tracy Quartermain spies a close moment between Willow and Chase and proceeds to rip into Chase are going to be television gold. Tracy is fiercely protective of her family, and seeing her unleash her wrath on Chase, who is completely oblivious to the Same, fact that his wife is hiding a massive secret is going to be devastating. I think Michael is counting on Tracy's explosive reaction to do his dirty work for him. He wants to keep his hands clean while lighting the match that burns down the Quartermain mansion. I know some fans are upset that Michael is being written so darkly, but I feel like this is the inevitable culmination of years of him suppressing his true Corinthos nature. It's gripping, it's tragic, and I cannot look away. The tragedy of Chase and Brooklyn right now is making my heart ache in the best possible way. I feel so deeply for Chase, who is just trying to be a good man, comforting a crying Willow without having any idea of the web of deceit wrapping around him. When Michael finally finds a way to expose Brooklyn as the driver who fled the scene of Curtis and Jordan's accident, the fallout is going to be biblical. I think the way the writers have layered Brooklyn's guilt, especially with Tracy, forcing her to stay quiet to protect the adoption of baby Phoebe, is a stroke of genius. It places Brooklyn in an impossible moral dilemma. If she tells the truth, she loses Phoebe. If she lies, she loses Chase. I feel like we are marching toward a devastating confrontation, and I am savoring every agonizing second of the emotional buildup. Shifting gears to the dark, claustrophobic nightmare happening at Windermere, I have to talk about Jocelyn Jacks. I am so incredibly impressed by the way the show is handling her captivity. I know the fandom has been vocal about wanting Jocelyn rescued immediately, but I actually think keeping her in that cell is the best thing they could have done for her character development. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we just view her as a damsel in distress. The way I see it, Jocelyn is transforming into a true survivor right before our eyes. When she found those shivs that Anna Devane left behind in her bedroom quarters, I got actual chills. It connected the show's rich history to the present moment in such a visceral, satisfying way. The upcoming scenes where Jocelyn pretends to be attracted to Cash's fake Nathan West are going to be a psychological tightrope walk. I think this is a brilliant strategic move on her part. She knows she can't overpower him purely with physical strength, so she is using his ego against him. I love the way she looked at the cold stone walls of Windermere. It was as if she was drawing strength from the ghosts of the castle's past. I believe that when Jocelyn finally catches Cassius off guard and makes her bloody move, it will be one of the most satisfying payoffs of the year. I feel like the writers are allowing Jocelyn to earn her freedom through her own grit and cunning, rather than just having Jason or Sunny kick the door down to save her. It makes me respect her character so much more, and it proves she is truly Carly's daughter. And the political maneuvering surrounding Windermere is just as thrilling. I think Sunny Corinthos and Laura Collins recruiting Lucas Jones to help turn Pascal against Jen Sidwell was a fascinating tactical choice. But watching Lucas potentially make a mess of things is exactly the kind of messy human error that makes this show great. I feel like Lucas is operating purely on adrenaline and a desire to prove himself, which is blinding him to the very real danger Sidwell poses. When Carly pushes for answers and senses that Lucas is in way over his head, it grounds the high-stakes espionage in genuine family concern. I believe Sidwell getting the wrong idea and thinking Pascal was the one who went after Marco. Rios, when we all know it was Ross Cullum who ended Marco's life, is a delicious dramatic irony. I think the tension of knowing Sidwell might eliminate the wrong man keeps the stakes incredibly high and unpredictable. Let's take a moment to appreciate the incredible emotional complexity of Ethan Lovett's current storyline. I feel so incredibly moved by his stance regarding baby Phoebe. When Alexis Davis confronts Ethan with the picture of him and Delilah Wilson from that Manhattan gallery, the tension is going to be palpable. I think Alexis is absolutely right to push him if he is Phoebe's father. He needs to claim her before Chase and Brooklyn get any more attached. But the way I interpret Ethan's refusal, his argument that Phoebe is right where she needs to be, is utterly heartbreaking. I genuinely believe Ethan is making a massive sacrifice out of pure love. He knows his life is dangerous, filled with grifts and enemies, and he wants better for that little girl. He wants her to have the stable Quartermaine life that he never had. But of course, Ava Jerome never lets a good secret go to waste. I think having Ava approach Ethan separately to use his connection to Delilah as leverage is classic vintage Ava. I loved the sheer audacity of Ava digging into those art gallery connections and immediately weaponizing that information. I feel like Ava is currently operating at peak performance. She doesn't just want information, she wants absolute control. I believe her stirring up trouble for Ethan is going to force him into a desperate corner, and I cannot wait to see how he fights his way out. The way the writers are weaving this Manhattan art gallery mystery into the custody of a child in Port Charles is seamless and brilliant. It proves that the show's history is always alive and relevant. Meanwhile, the stakes have never been higher for Britt Westbourne and Rocco Falconeri. I am completely invested in their time on the run together. I know some viewers find the runaway plot stressful, but I actually think it's providing some of the most touching character work on the canvas right now. I feel like Britt is carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. She knows Ross Cullum wants to kill them both, and the sheer terror she feels about protecting Rocco is radiating off the screen. I think the choice to have Britt doing everything in his power to find them, running a parallel manhunt against Cullum's lethal search, creates a ticking clock that has me constantly on the edge of my seat. The way I see it, Rocco and Britt deepening their bond while hiding out is absolutely essential. Rocco is a kid who feels completely lost, burdened by the guilt of what he did, and Britt, who has always been something of an outcast herself, understands that alienation better than anyone. I believe their scenes together are giving Britt a chance to show her fiercely maternal, protective side, a side we haven't seen fully unleashed in a long time. I feel so incredibly anxious every time they are on screen, because the threat of Cullum is so terrifyingly real, but that anxiety is exactly what makes the viewing experience so compelling. There are two broken people finding strength in each other, and it is beautiful to watch. Back in Port Charles, the legal and medical drama surrounding Curtis Ashford is reaching an agonizing boiling point. I think Curtis pushing for a plea deal is a fascinating moment of vulnerability for a man who is usually so stubbornly proud and defiant. I feel like the reality of missing the birth of his child is finally cracking his defensive shell. He is looking at the very real possibility of a prison cell, and it is terrifying him. However, I completely understand Isaiah Gannon's perspective as well. If Derek's procedure fails because Isaiah's hand was destroyed by Curtis, why shouldn't Isaiah want Curtis in prison? I genuinely think the writers have done a phenomenal job of making both sides of this conflict completely understandable. There are no clear villains here, just flawed men making terrible life-altering mistakes. And poor Portia Robinson is caught right in the blast zone of their toxic masculinity. I feel like the tension is going to physically manifest in her going into labor at the absolute worst possible moment. The way I interpret it, Portia's body is simply rejecting the immense stress of her husband, facing felony charges while her colleague's career is ruined. I think the upcoming scenes where the stress induces labor are going to be heart-stopping. I believe the show is setting us up for some very scary news regarding the baby, which will force Curtis and Isaiah to reevaluate everything they have been fighting about. The stakes are shifting from pride to pure survival, and it is gripping television.